I am a Baltimore resident. It's been about 3 years since the incident happened. It actually happened on November 15th of 2015. I had just turned 18, so you can guess I'm about now going on 21. But what happened on that day, it's amazing. Nobody even knew I had died except my family. Regarding that, people in school didn't even know I died or I was even injured or stabbed. About that, in school, I when the doctors had given me a chance to choose crutches versus which I actually needed versus just holding on to my wound for the following week or two. I had chosen holding my wound because I was just so afraid of the bullying in my high school. Everybody was ruthless. You always had to be on guard every day you went to school at my local high school. And so nobody even knew I died, never appeared in the news. I just kind of lived in obscurity for a while. Anyways, on November 15th of 2015, I had been brutally stabbed in a hate crime. Two African American men. I had gone into Baltimore City for a stupid, dumb reason. I was a naive, dumb kid, and I forgive myself for it. It was definitely a valuable experience, I'd say. But anyways, I had been standing in the street, and a guy approached me with a knife, and another man ran around the corner with a handgun. The one guy pointed it at my temple. They forced me against the sidewalk in front of a house, and they took my money and my current cell phone. And the one man, even after that, I showed no resistance. I did exactly as they wanted, and the one man stabbed me in the leg, and then he stabbed me in the stomach, right through the abdomen, all the way through my back, to the point. After that, they had ran off, and as I watched them ran off, I felt my heart stop, and I physically died. I was dead for nearly half an hour, and some might call it crazy, but then I had a afterlife kind of experience. I almost felt like I was out of my body. I had just known I died, and when I saw that guy run around the corner with the gun, I had just known I was gonna die there and then. I just accepted it. I have to say that was one of the most possibly traumatizing moments of my life, but it was also one of the most pivotal and powerful moments of my life as well. I've made so many life changes, being able to have a second chance to live, and I've really decided where I stand on things, whether it be politically, religiously. I'd consider myself a man of God now, and I really think the Lord helped me there. There would have been no way, if I didn't believe in God or anything else, that I would have walked away from that situation. It would have just been over. But even in light of all that, every day I just think, where would we be if they passed regulations on guns even more, or even if we didn't have the right to protect ourselves? Because these two African American men were identified on the news. I saw them. It's been about 3 years, like I said. They appeared recently in the news for committing a similar crime in Middle River and Essex. So they're migrating around between there and Baltimore City and, this area of Baltimore. And they committed a similar crime. They were caught by police again. And this has been 3 years after what they did to me. and I definitely recognized them the first time I saw them on the news. They had them paired up together as on a picture on a headline on one of the news articles. And just thinking about it, I just believe, these guys would have gotten that handgun to rob me no matter what, because the one guy had already so many previous charges of attempted murderer, and robberies such as this. They could have gotten that handgun anyway. He wasn't even legally allowed to own it. And I just think when you relate that to what's going now with the Parkland survivors, people like David Hogg and that Emma from Cuba, they're not even victims. They didn't undergo any traumatization or traumatizing experiences. They weren't held at gunpoint. They didn't get injured. They didn't die. And I actually had died that day 3 times. Once before, like I mentioned, after the 2 men left, as I watched them go away. And I died at least twice during surgery. They had even told my mother they were afraid. The surgeons were afraid I just wasn't going to make it. I could died at any second. That would have been it. So it disgusts me to just think about what's going on right now with, David Hogg and all these other Parkland, quote, victims. They're not victims. It's ridiculous. And they're just doing it for the publicity at this point, in my opinion. If you watch the news, they don't have any real regulations or anything else they have proposed. It's just basically a giant movement to get rid of our Second Amendment right. And even if, I just want to say, these 2 guys would have gotten that gun anyways, and getting rid of the Second Amendment isn't going to do anything about it. Most of this, in my instance, I believe, is the way Baltimore City is structured government-wise and everything. I don't want to bring race into this or anything, but you already know how they have policies in Baltimore City that if you're a specific color or you're an illegal immigrant in Baltimore, the police can't hold you, or they let you go after a certain point. And honestly, looking through the criminal records of these 2 men, the one man had actually been released on probation for a murder charge. Actually a homicide, but same thing. It's ridiculous. So there really needs to be some changes. We can't at all costs lose our Second Amendment right to protect ourselves. I please ask, in watching this video, that you defend our gun rights. Thank you for watching this video and hearing my story.